So here it is, finally the review of the Savadeck Warwinds 2.0 or 3.0. Stay tuned. This bike for the price is absolutely phenomenal. There's some definitely big cons with the bicycle, but there's also a lot of good pros too. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh myself, and then I'm going to pick up the bicycle and then weigh the bicycle. We'll see how everything lines up. But I'm a little heavy right now, so calm down. So we have 234.8. I have a bunch of stuff in my pockets, etc. All right, now I'm holding the bicycle. I'm going to step back on, and let's see how much this thing weighs. This does have the bag, the pedals, water bottles, the whole enchilada. So you can see it's about 20 pounds with everything on it. That's including the bag, which is filled up with gloves and heart rate monitor and all that. The bottle with the bottle cages, the quad lock phone holder, and then also the Wahoo element. So, and with the pedals on too. These are not the lightest pedals, and they're very dangerous because I must have been stabbed with them several times. So you can see the weight of the bicycle is actually really good, especially considering we have the Wahoo attached, the phone attachment, the bicycle bag, the water bottles and cages, and it also has aluminum rims. So if you were to upgrade your package, which I'll go over more in depth, but I think it's definitely worth it because we do have the heavy aluminum rims, and we also have the Sora, well, the Sora Groupset, so to speak, which also leads me to my next topic, is the Groupset and the shifters and brakes. So you can see the shifters are the Soras. Okay, they work just like any other Shimano. I've had Sora shifters before and never had any complaints about them. It's the brakes I'm not a big fan of. They're Tektro, which to be honest with you, I've never heard. They do work, you know. Weight-wise, I'm not taking them apart to get a weight for you guys, so forgive me. This is not my job. This is a hobby for me, so it is what it is. However, I'm not a big fan of that, but I will say, and the rear brakes are the same too, I will say the cranks I'm not a big fan of either. So they're ounce, they're very heavy. I could just tell by feeling them. They're heavy, they're solid. Also, they come with their proprietary turnkey thing to loosen up the crank arms. Shimano has the same thing, except the Shimano you could easily find anywhere. This one I did look online. It's a little bit harder to find, but you are able to find it. But just be aware it comes in the box to be able to remove this, and you definitely don't want to accidentally throw that out. Now also I'll mention that it does have the Sora derailleur, the front and rear ones. I had this on my first bike. I had a Bianchi Via Nerone 7. That was my first bike, and it came with the Soras. At that point, I did not know what better was, and they were fine for me. You know, I used them for years. Now that I upgraded to the 105s, and after riding this bicycle around for a little bit, even though it was very undersized for me, I realized how awful the shifting was, even though it was fine-tuned. So I'm not sure if it's because of the derailleur or because of the crankset, this ounce, but either way, I highly recommend spending a couple extra more dollars and getting at least a 105 entire group set. Now, one of the other topics with this bicycle is that it only comes in certain sizes. We sized up because it was supposed to be the accurate size for the owner's height. However, it was a little too big for her height. So what we had to do is we had to size some things down to make it work. So we did replace the seat. Here you could see the seat that came with the bicycle. All right, it's much bigger. We did replace it with the Fizik. and you can see the difference in size, but by doing so, enabled them to be able to stand here at this point. You can see the frame dips down there, and by doing that, made it more comfortable for them. Also, the length of the bicycle, because they were not a cyclist prior, we did have to decrease the size of the neck, or the stem. The bike comes with about 100 to 110 millimeter stem. We decreased it down to a 60, just so the reach of the bars was much closer to the seat, making it much more comfortable for them. One of the other things is the wheel set. You could see that the stickers were put on by hand, and it's not the end of the world. But just for instance, you can see how they don't perfectly line up. Like for instance here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but how close that is to the edge there, and then how the curvature does not meet the rim. I mean, when buying a bicycle like this, for me, that's not a deal breaker. It's kind of like, well, what do you expect? Okay, and also the tires that it comes with, the Continental Ultra Sports, they're okay tires. They have some grip to them. They're not bad. The tubes, I would replace the tubes that are inside here right away, because I'm sure they use some very cheap manufactured tubes. I've had to replace the tubes on the front and the back already. Overall, I'm gonna say this is a very nice bike. It's not the lightest bike in the world, but because of its carbon frame, carbon fork, these actually are carbon. I believe they're carbon. They're very strong, very hard, but I'm sure they designed it that way to be very thick carbon, so it adds a little weight to it. Initially in the unboxing video, I believe I said I thought it was steel or aluminum. Would I recommend this bike? Absolutely. It's an amazing bike, especially for the price point. The frame, I mean, if you're looking at entry-level carbon frames, you know, we're not comparing it to, say, like a F12 or, you know, Trek's top of the line. If you're at this level though, I would recommend not getting this set up and definitely going with the Shimano 105 or something similar. You can see I'm a heavy guy and I have the 105 in my setup, and if I lose a tremendous amount of weight and then I'm looking to lose more weight on the bicycle, then I would think about upgrading to the 105, but right now it's a lot easier and cheaper for me to lose the weight and better. So I would definitely recommend this. It's an amazing frame. For the price point, if you're looking to spend maybe just like about $1,000 to $1,200 now, I would say, okay, buy the bike, and then as you go on, you can upgrade the group set and other items. At least the chassis will be fine, which I think it's a great bike, and I definitely recommend it.